Welcome to No Clue Podcast. I'm one of your hosts. I'm Tyler.
I'm Mike.
And we're back. The finals finally set. Finals are finally here. Mavs and Celtics.
I got one right. You got one right, I believe.
Who did I pick coming off the East?
I don't know. It might have been Boston. So you might have been 2 for 2.
I don't know if I picked Boston.
Or did you believe in Dame and Giannis right away?
No. I didn't pick them from the beginning of the season.
From the beginning, you might have picked.
I think I was non-committal in the East. I don't think I picked anybody in the East.
If you picked somebody, it was between Philly and Boston, I do think.
Yeah, probably.
That's a while back.
Yeah. Philly,
but I know I picked Boston from the start of the season.
Yeah, for sure. East had the injuries in the East really ruined the whole East playoffs.
Yes.
Because you could argue that the best player on 5 of the 8 playoff teams was injured.
Yeah, I've been right about Boston, but not in the way I thought I would be.
Yeah. And I'm not saying Boston wouldn't have still made it. I'm just saying the parity in the East was definitely ruined. Injuries and Dallas. Go ahead.
No, let's talk about the East since we're starting off with it. Let's talk about Indy and Boston conference final.
Mm-hmm.
Very quick 4 games.
Yeah,
but a very competitive 4 games.
Yeah, similar to that Brooklyn-Boston series where every game really was determined by the last 4 minutes of the game. Indiana won 3 of the first 3 quarters, 3 games, 3 quarters.
Yeah.
And lost the 4th quarter in those games.
It's just the tough thing in this series to me was Indy really missing clutch opportunities.
Yeah.
You essentially give the first game away.
Yep.
And it just kind of set the tone for them not being as what's the word I'm looking for? I guess as organized as Boston down the stretch.
Mm-hmm.
They're a little bit more erratic. They're a little bit more inexperienced.
Yeah.
Which to me showed in pretty much every game.
Absolutely did. Yeah. I think that even though their roster is deep and they can play a lot of different kinds of ways, the versatility of Boston down the stretch just, showed out every game. It just showed that they had the 2 best players on the court and that really didn't matter who was guarding them most of the time. And that really was just up to Boston beating themselves when it came to the 4th quarter because they were always competing against themselves.
I will say Boston looked focused in a lot of the games going down. You saw kind of them seeking to do a little bit more of their strengths, not really settling for just shooting the whole game.
Yeah.
Feeding the hot hand, too. That's something they really struggle with for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
Getting it to the hot shooter. They've actually been doing that a lot better.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Indiana was right there. This was a sweep that you come out of, and, you get Halliburton healthy for 2 more games. You probably win one of those. You obviously threw the first game away. I mean,
yeah.
You should be thinking as Indiana, we had this.
They were a timeout away from winning the first game.
I mean, even the last shot, Naismith makes that, you probably go to overtime and win that.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, I wonder how they come back from this.
And also, you think they were missing Mathurin, probably their second best, one-on-one threat.
Well, see, that's the weird thing is
maybe third best.
The problem is we got a pretty hefty chunk of them playing without Mathurin.
Yeah.
And I don't know how much of it is him, but they look better.
They look better?
Yeah.
I don't know about that.
See, to me, hypothetically, Mathurin is a talented enough player that he should make them better.
How many games did Mathurin and Siakam play together?
Not a lot. It was if
Yeah.
any. If it was
So
like
it
a
could
couple,
be.
I think.
It could look better because Siakam made him look a lot better.
See, that's where I think is the big difference for them is Siakam was a much better fit than I thought.
Yeah.
Like as far as making them versatile on both ends. I mean, with him they match up better. With him they run better. They rebound better. He's actually a solid isolation threat when he's not option one.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
But to me, I worry. In this case, to me, I think there's a lot of cases where like the team has to figure out how to fit the player. To me, this is a case of Mathurin's going to have to figure it out himself.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be a problem because, like I said, him and Siakam just don't really have any court time together. I think that they had times in these games where the bench was in there and maybe Neesmith took a few more shots than he should have. Some of the guards had to really force getting into the paint and getting to the basket, where I think Mathurin would have opened it up for him, whether it's his shooting or him getting into the paint or just his athleticism. I definitely saw some moments where I was like, man, Mathurin would be in there. Shepherd played a lot more minutes than I was expecting him to. Mathurin probably takes a good chunk, if not all.
He got to take some of that. And if Halliburton gets hurt, starting Shepherd is gross. Starting Mathurin, let's go to work.
Yeah. I think they have a lot more options going big and going small with Mathurin. So I think he'll make a big difference for them next year. If they stay healthy for a full season, I think they'll be pretty dangerous. They still struggle to put games together where Halliburton and Siakam are both playing well, though. But they got a little bit better.
This was a weird series for Siakam. Not Siakam, for Halliburton. I know he got hurt.
Yeah.
But like the two games in the beginning, he kind of was inconsistent.
Mm-hmm.
And the team didn't really depend on him at all to play well.
Mm-hmm.
Like that ball movement that seems like he's the catalyst for, like, they got other guys who could kind of run that.
They do, yeah.
And the last two games really proved it, where they still went toe-to-toe. They played exactly the same.
Yep.
You know, it was a few plays. You win those games. So I worry about how they could improve, because there's a case to be made. They kind of peaked this season.
Yeah. There's a case to be made there. I don't know. I mean, I know they have to run this back with Siakam and Halliburton, but I don't know if maybe Siakam makes the team better, but I don't know if those two are a perfect fit. But the team is better with Siakam, obviously. But that doesn't mean Halliburton and Siakam both are the right fit, you know? Because, I mean, the Knicks, they beat the Knicks with the Knicks missing 3 starters most of the games, and still all the games were close.
Yeah.
So it's...
Well, you think the Knicks have all their players? The Knicks are a little different because that's more of like sheer competitive willpower.
Yeah, but I mean, if the Knicks had all their players, it might have been a sweep. We just don't know. I mean, we know it was close without 3 players, but if they had all their players, they might have swept them. And Indiana doesn't look as impressive. We're not talking about them in the same light.
I'm really impressed throughout the playoffs how Indiana was able to impose their identity.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't think, like, the teams they played were hurt, similar to Boston.
Yeah.
But it's still, like, they really know what they do best.
Mm-hmm.
And I think to your point, they should just run it back. Like, yeah, maybe there's a question mark with their 2 best players.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not enough of a question mark where I'm like, you know, I'm negative on seeing them play together.
Right.
I mean, to be fair to them, Halliburton was hurt most of the season, especially when Siakam got there.
Yeah, he was.
They've had a lot of like guys in and out of the lineup, so I think a full off season. These guys are young, they're hungry. I mean, this is a team that should run it back. It should be right back in this position.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, who knows what they do in the season they may get something. They may lose something, but they're with Mathurin back here. Okay, let's go back to the West. Minnesota was dismantled.
This was much worse. And it took more games, and this was much worse.
Yeah.
I watched every one of those.
It took games because.
Go ahead.
I said it looked like it took those games really just because Dallas just didn't really care after they were up 3-0. So.
Oh, the last two games were embarrassing for Minnesota.
Yeah.
And they won one of those games.
Yep.
I mean, to me, the Wolves have serious serious issues. And that's one thing I love about the playoffs is when you don't match up well, you get thoroughly exposed.
Mm-hmm.
Denver didn't match up well with Minnesota, but Denver could still impose their own identity to the point where it was a close series. It could have gone either way.
Mm-hmm.
This was, like you said, a dismantling.
Mm-hmm.
They forget guarding the basics of potentially beating Dallas. There's no scenario where we could execute those based on what I just saw from 5 games.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Gobert is more of a weak link in this series than he was in the last one.
Mm-hmm.
And he played well again.
Yeah.
To me, I talk about self-awareness with these teams, and this is why I love the Indiana's series, even though they lost, and I hated Minnesota. Every game, there was okay, guys, we have to play to our size, play to our athleticism. We have to not just match up. We got to rotate better. None of that happened.
Right.
None of that happened. Bro, watching the last first quarter of this series reminded me of what Luka did to Phoenix.
Mm-hmm.
He came out and just started scoring immediately and outscoring the team.
Yeah. And
it's the same shit. I was screaming. You remember this? I was screaming at Monty Williams dude, you're just leaving your center to get abused. That's bullshit.
Yeah.
This is the whole roster was getting abused.
Mm-hmm.
Anthony Edwards, easy bucket. Alexander Walker, easy bucket. Any of the bigs, foul or easy bucket. I mean, guys, and not to mention the first play, they run a Luka post up.
Yeah.
Immediate basket. What does Minnesota counter with in their elimination desperation game? A pick and roll with Rudy Gobert. What?
Yeah.
What are we doing? Dude, the coaching in this series was like Jason Kidd looked like a basketball god, and the Minnesota staff looked like they'd never coached their own team.
Mm-hmm.
I'd never seen Luka dominate with such ease. Be honest, have you? I mean, the Clippers make him work harder than this.
He's not. I've seen him dominate worse, but I mean, it was bad. It was bad.
To me,
it was bad.
I can't believe you were right on Dallas backcourt and defense not mattering, but to make Minnesota look like they're garbage defensively.
Yeah,
I didn't expect that. I thought I picked Dallas, but I didn't think it would be anything like this.
Mm-hmm.
What did you see, man? I've been talking for a while. It was just this was bad for me.
You know, the thing about Dallas, the thing about Minnesota, even in the last series, some of the games they won, they didn't even get 100 points against Denver.
Right.
Because they were, mostly defensive games and managing the tempo. Both teams, the pace and tempo was really important in that series. But in this series, man, Dallas is going to score. They're going to score a lot of points. And if you're not going to go for 115, 110 points every night, you're not going to have a chance. And Minnesota, there was times, I'm not even going to touch on the stuff you touched on because you're right. Everything you said was right. But on Minnesota's side, the struggle to score, the struggle to find a guaranteed look or a guaranteed bucket was just on full display. And in this entire playoffs right now, they're the only team that doesn't know where a good basket is going to come from every play. And then the team just made doubling Anthony Edwards just like an easy cheat code to beat them. It's like it was really disappointing to see that because like really is that all it takes? Just double Anthony Edwards and the game's over. And that's basically what they did. And I don't really know who to even blame that on. I would blame it on the coaches, but like I saw no game plan to say, hey, they're doubling Ant. Let's see it. Let's have something off the double. Let's have an action where we know somebody's cutting off the double, or we have guys in there in certain spots where we know they get an easy basket off the double teams or off the pressure. There was nothing like that. I was cool with I thought Gobert had the perfect matchup in this series. When I say perfect matchup, I mean like it was even. Gobert, Gafford, Gobert, Lively. Yeah. Gobert, Gafford, Gobert, Lively, whatever. But if you're not going to make it easier on Gobert on defense, if you're going to let Gobert be there on the switches, if you're going to let him just stand in the paint waiting for Kyrie and Luka to attack him, he's just going to get exposed. It's going to be lobs over his head. He's going to foul. Whatever it is, it's just going to happen all night. And I think that the Warriors were really good against Dallas because they can go small. And if you're a team that can't go small, you're going to have a hard time with Dallas because they're so athletic. They're so active. Everyone on the team is fast. Everyone on the team can jump. Everyone on the team can, handle the ball pretty well, at least attack the basket from the 3-point line. And Minnesota wasn't ready for any of that. They were getting blown by everybody. Every time someone caught it in the corner, it was either a 3 or a dunk. Every single time. PJ Washington caught in the corner, 3. Derrick Jones Jr. catches in the corner, pump fake, dunk. It was just every single time, and Minnesota just didn't have anything to come at that with. Maybe they did, but they didn't use it. So,
but it's like the basic things that you could point to in the Denver series and say, like, this is something the Wolves should establish regardless of how good Dallas is.
Yeah.
Like the work ethic they had for Jamal Murray from start to finish, which, by the way, as that was going on, Lou Dort was showing us the exact same blueprint on Luka Doncic. Not saying he locked him up, but he did a hell of a better job than what we just saw for 5 games.
Yeah, for sure.
And to me, it's like you were committed to making Jamal work every minute, every possession, every play.
Yeah.
But with Luka, nobody's attacking him. Nobody is being physical with him. Everybody that's trying to be physical is looking tiny.
And they're letting him go right every single time he wanted to.
Right, every time he wants. The step back, he's not even creating space.
Nope.
It's like the Paul George thing. Like, oh my God, I respect your step back so much. You could just have it anytime you want. Why? Why are we playing defense like this?
Right.
I mean, to me, there's a lot of positives for Dallas, like in their own right, that we'll get into when we preview the finals matchup.
Yeah.
But Minnesota, to me, you mentioned the front court being an even matchup. On paper, it is.
Right, on paper.
Lively and Gafford dominated this series.
They did. Absolutely.
Like, absolutely. And the more I watched Karl Anthony Towns and Rudy Gobert, I'm like, guys, I don't give a fuck if you have no coaches. This is unacceptable.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Lively is repeatedly tapping the ball out. Gafford is sending everything.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, where is that level of activity from Gobert? Have you ever seen like 4 straight plays of Rudy being really active?
No.
Have you ever seen Karl Anthony Towns for like half a quarter really be active on both ends.
Not down low.
In any capacity, Lively and Gafford have a nonstop motor.
They do.
Nonstop. Indiana has players with that. Boston has players with that. Every team that has a potential to win a championship has that.
Yep.
Like if you'd have told me that Lively and Gafford would have dominated the activity in this series, especially from a big man perspective, I would have more likely predicted this.
Mm-hmm.
This was just nobody looked good for Minnesota. It's like they took Denver's Game 7 struggle and like established it for themselves.
Yeah, and we're kind of talking two different sides here, and I agree with everything you're saying. I was just expecting that more. I was expecting them not to be able to stop Dallas at all, pretty much. Coming into the series, that was what I was expecting the most. What I was hoping was that Minnesota would be competitive on offense, and they weren't at all in the series. The thing is, even with all of them not being able to stop Dallas, there is zero chance of them winning the game, not scoring 100 points against Dallas.
And the fact that
if you score 100 points, Dallas is going to score 120.
Right, and the fact that they didn't even look on the same level. To me, there's one guy to blame. Karl Anthony Towns.
Yeah.
Bro, the hype for him being like top anything is done. I'm done with that.
You done? He's not top 10. I mean, top 5.
I mean,
power forwards.
Top something. But there's guys who are much worse than him, like the two bigs for Dallas, who I'd take any day of the week.
Yeah, I got you.
There's scrubs compared to Cat's talent level that I would pick over him.
Right.
I mean, if Minnesota has any consistent versatility, it's through him.
Yeah.
He's their best playmaker, their best shooter, their probably most mobile overall player.
Mm-hmm. At least most mobile mismatch. And on paper, he's their biggest mismatch.
All those positive, like dominant attributes.
Yeah.
5 games. Did I see it at any point?
Nope.
I mean, there's more awareness from Kyrie Irving to say, guys, even though we're getting phenomenal, like perfect quality 3-point looks, we're taking a few too many. Let me attack.
Mm-hmm.
And Anthony Edwards, I could forgive. It's his first deep run. He's year 3. He shot the ball well in the prior rounds. Cat, if we're just going to shoot the ball like it's the damn 3-point contest, like, I'm not taking you seriously.
Mm-hmm.
He looked like my least favorite center in basketball right now, Vucevic.
Mm-hmm. He did.
Like, all these fucking extra skills besides shooting, and all we see is just fucking bricks.
Yep.
Like, it's just unacceptable. He's the longest tenured guy there. He's supposed to be the vet.
Mm-hmm.
He's been in the playoffs. He's had some playoff success before.
Mm-hmm.
Not a lot, but some. And for him to look so inept for these 5 games, like inept. Like Anthony Edwards just didn't shoot well, didn't take the best shots. Okay, he still defended. He still attacked.
He still defended pretty well, too.
Like I said, Gobert played great, in my opinion.
Yeah.
The other guys tried to battle, even though they couldn't hit a fucking shot.
Yeah.
Cat was like the obvious weak link to not be able to match Dallas.
To me, they got everything they could have wanted out of Jaden McDaniels and Gobert.
Yeah, Jaden McDaniels
there's nothing else
spectacular.
Nothing else they could have done in this series. So I'm not giving them any negative talk, either of them, because I think they did just about everything they could have done. All the negative stuff with Gobert comes back to coaching for me, but everything else, those guys played their best.
Yeah.
Ant-Man and Cat, I wanted more.
Much more.
Anthony Edwards looked like in the Nuggets, into the Nuggets series and in this series, he looks like he's never been like double teamed before. If you've ever been the best player on a team, you've been double teamed before. Ever. Like, if you ever had a hot game, you've been double teamed before. And he looked like he had no idea what he was supposed to do. And the other team, the rest of the players look like they didn't know what they were supposed to do.
And I hate that the body language is everybody around me should figure this out. Like, no, as a talented player, you should be able to get off of that.
Exactly. He was just like, oh, I guess we just play 4-on-4.
Oh, Mike Conley, go pick and roll with Gobert. You got it. I'll just stand off to the side. What are we doing?
Yeah, I'll just get out the way because they're double teaming me. No. You attack the weak link of the double team. No double team has two flawless defenders. You attack the weak link and you make a play out of it.
It's crazy too, because Dallas was picking their double teams apart.
They were.
With the same hit the short roll. That's it.
Yep.
Like Golden State showed us for years. You hit the short roll with good basketball players, you beat the double team. Mission success.
That and Kyrie knows that if you take the double team to the sideline and you legally in NBA rules basketball, they can't stop you from going up the sideline. Yes. The defender cannot get in your way of the sideline. It's an automatic blocking foul. So Kyrie knew, take the double team to the sideline and just blow past the sideline person. They can't stop you. It's impossible to get charged there. So Edwards goes to the sideline and just stands there and like just tries to pass over the players. I'm like, attack. Kyrie was attacking it every time. And then the whole defense was ruined after Kyrie got past that. And Kyrie knows that he's done that his whole career. He knows that if you get to the sideline in the double team, you get to the sideline to the corner, it's wide open and no one can stop you. And Edwards, I guess, just hasn't learned that. But like you said, he should have just been watching the tapes and saw how Luka and Kyrie beat all the double teams. They should have just did the same thing.
Bro, how do you not have a gear? Like, Cat is such a good playmaker, but we see it so rarely.
Mm-hmm.
How do you not have a gear of Cat getting the pass out of an Anthony Edwards double team?
Mm-hmm.
Literally, the other 29 teams have that. I mean, however many teams have two like really talented star players.
Yeah.
How you've played together multiple years? How are you guys just like off to the side on one another all the time?
I know. I
saw lobs from Kawhi Leonard and Paul George.
Yeah.
Like, guys, how is it this difficult?
Yeah, and most teams, Dallas really doesn't because it's their guards, but most teams, like the Lakers had this, when Kobe got double teamed, Powell would be at the top of the key, and they had like a triangle offense from there, where they took the three, or the 4-on-3 and made a play from it.
Exactly.
And sometimes I saw Minnesota try that, where Towns goes to the top of the key and he turns and looks at the numbers, and it just wasn't there. And they did nothing. No one moved. Cat really didn't attack. He couldn't get by whoever was guarding him. It was usually Lively, I think. He couldn't get by Lively. It was just bad, man. Their offense was the biggest issue in this series and the biggest thing they should be working on in the offseason. And I think they need another creator, which we'll get to that later when the offseason comes. But it showed that Anthony Edwards can't be the only creator on the team. At least, especially if Cat's not going to try. And Conley is just a little bit too old to 5 years ago, Conley could have been your second creator, but he's just not that anymore.
Like, to me, I mean, to be honest, the things they really need are not pressing. They'll be fine until maybe the second round next year. I think they could get there without any fixes.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But again, comparing it to Indiana, who just has so many positives they could take away from their series, this is the opposite, man. This is Dallas beat us, to me, not even playing their best.
No, they just played good, not great.
Like
Look,
they just took all the stuff that Minnesota gave them.
one reason why I would say it is a little bit pressing. Who had the worst depth in the playoffs right now in these four teams
Minnesota.
by a long shot?
And this is like, speaking of pure impact.
Yeah, and the thing is, it's only as bad as what the other teams do in the conference. Obviously, like if but the depth was one of the biggest issues for them in this whole playoffs. Even the games that they won, it would have been a lot easier if they had a little more depth. But something they'll have to improve in the offseason. Let's preview the finals. Let's get to the finals.
Mm-hmm.
How do you think it's going to play out? On court, no numbers, no games right now. On the court, what do you think is going to happen?
I think Luka is going to dominate this series.
Okay.
I made a comparison that was even premature when I made it, to me. But like, you actually saw like some of the stuff I was saying, and it was more for Anthony Edwards.
Yeah.
But the Wolves have a solid amount of similarities to Boston.
Yeah, they do.
And I think Boston, by their identity, is going to make a lot of the same mistakes where you're trying to match Dallas's elite shot selection with just threes.
Yeah.
Like, I thought that was actually something that got Minnesota in trouble against Denver, where Denver started playing well and you're just shooting. Like, you're liable to go cold and then you lose.
Yeah.
And to me, Luka, like we've seen over the years, Boston has absolutely no individual matchup for Luka Doncic.
Right.
And Drew Holiday is a phenomenal defender, but not against this. Like, this is the exact archetype of a basketball player that is liable to give Drew all types of problems.
Because no disrespect to Drew, but Drew's biggest attribute is that he's bigger than every other guard normally he's guarding. So when there's a guard,
LeBron, doesn't work with Jimmy Butler, is not going to work with Luka Doncic.
Exactly. When he runs up against someone that actually is bigger than him, Drew, just his defense there's nothing special about it anymore. And really, in a lot of ways, same as Derek White. Derek White, I think, plays defense with a little more IQ than Drew does, but it's still because he's he could be a small forward size, really, but he's playing guard. So
I just think it's going to play out in a very similar manner to what we just saw with Minnesota, where because your offense isn't great, isn't consistent.
Yeah.
It's hard for me to believe in the Jays outplaying Kyrie and Luka. That's what it's going to take for Boston to win this series. And I don't see that.
What would constitute outplaying to you?
Having more noticeable of an impact, which to me is specifically in how Dallas is struggling to match up with you.
Okay.
Right? When Kyrie and Luka attack, you could obviously see there's no answer, especially no individual answer.
Yeah.
The Jays have that gear. There is a scenario where both of them or one of them can play well enough to where Dallas has no individual answer.
Mm-hmm.
But that to me is your chance to match Dallas. It's not pretending you could get as good shots as they can, like Minnesota just tried.
Yeah.
To me, the blueprint for Minnesota was Ant and Towns had to be great. They weren't. Same thing for Boston. The Jays have to be great. And they also have more of a gear of being great on both ends.
Yeah.
So I think there is a blueprint for them to do it. Do I trust it? Not at all. Not at all.
I gotcha. Yeah.
So I got to pick the two star players I actually believe in because they're playing to what they do best.
I'll say this too. I really don't have much to add to that, but I'll say that the turnovers in this series are going to be a lot more detrimental than they have been in the last few series for Boston.
To be
Jaylen
honest,
Brown is
both of
still.
these teams,
Uh-huh.
turnovers are their biggest problem.
Yeah, they are.
And it's self-imposed.
Yeah, I think that Boston's turnovers will be more costly than Dallas's.
That's fair.
I mean, because you get Derrick Jones Jr. a turnover, I mean, it's showtime. Kyrie a turnover, Kyrie in open court, we're not stopping it. So
I'm interested. The supporting cast to me are gonna I think swing both ways.
Boston's kind of funny because I don't really even know who the supporting cast is anymore for them. Drew,
Derek, they're kind of the main cast, supporting cast type of switch back and forth.
Yeah, Derek is he's like the actor that might probably got paid the most, but is considered the supporting actor in the movie.
Yeah.
Even though he got paid more.
See, Boston on paper plays scrubs off the bench, but they're self-aware.
Yeah.
They're self-aware, and because of that, it cleans up their possessions a lot of the time. Pritchard being mindful of not turning the fucking basketball over. That's all I ask. He could literally do nothing else, but he's been mindful of taking care of the ball, and I love it.
Yeah, and those guys have they have a greener light than most scrubs that come in for off the bench.
To me, I think the supporting cast for both teams will get them at least a game.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I agree with I agree that Luka is going to have a good series. I question which team has the most scoring lulls, who goes cold the most, because I think that's the team that's probably going to lose. And if I was going to wager which team could go cold more, I would say Boston. Only because I think Dallas knows that, hey, we missed 2 threes. We got guys that can go get a dunk anytime. Again, Derrick Jones Jr., if he drives, there's a 70% chance he's either going to get a dunk or get fouled, every single time he drives.
Yes. I love they'll sneak in because they got to put the elite defenders on the backcourt.
Yeah.
And you'll think we could put a guard on PJ Washington. All of a sudden, feed him in the post immediately. And Washington, to his credit, has been very efficient scoring out of the post.
I've been saying for a long time, he's one of the more versatile players in the entire league.
Just scores, man. Him being able to score in so many ways has given Dallas such a deep layer of shot selection.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that Dallas's bench having better defenders than Boston is gonna be tough for Boston, because you're really never gonna get a break. You think, okay, I got Derrick Jones Jr.'s length guarding me all this time. Oh, finally he's coming out. Oh, now Josh Green is coming in, who's might be the strongest player in this series, and one of the more athletic players. Yeah, and one of the more athletic players in this series, and he's guarding me. Now Exum's not that great of a player, but Exum has length and he's super fast, and he comes in and kind of likes to pressure guys full court. It's Boston's not going to get any breaks as far as who's guarding them this entire series. No breaks. Yeah. So I think that's going to be really, really tough for Boston. But what's going to be tough for Dallas is, I wonder how much they're going to be able to do the big lineups against Boston. I wonder who kind of controls that matchup. Is it going to be Dallas playing the 2 bigs, or is it going to be Boston playing small? Who's going to control those time periods when Dallas tries to go big? Is Boston going to have to try to play big, or is Dallas going to have to try to play small?
See, I think Dallas is going to dominate with their like how imposing their depth is.
Yeah.
I think Dallas is going to set the tone for how both teams play.
Mm-hmm.
The interesting thing to me is the scoring lulls, right? Like you said, they're both going to struggle to score. The reason I'm so confident in Dallas is I know Luka and Kyrie are in full control of that scoring lull. Like a lot of the time, the lull is because Luka's sloppy with the ball, or he's kind of settling, or Kyrie is a little off because he hasn't like taken any shots in a while, or he's just he sometimes also just seems to be sloppy for a few minutes here and there.
Yeah, or sometimes he tries to. I mean, I don't know if he does it on purpose, but sometimes he gets into like taking highlight shots. Like 2 or 3 highlight shots in a row. Like, let's get something easy, Kyrie.
Yeah, the full bag of tricks moves. Like Kyrie, you can save a couple of the counters for the vault. Like you don't got to bring them out every time.
Yeah. We don't need a whole possession of just ball handling.
That's the thing is like you kind of understand when Dallas goes on the scoring drought. If they're defending, they'll be fine.
Yeah.
With Boston, it's different because with Boston, I'm asking the role players to save them out of the scoring drought, not the Jays. The Jays likely feed off of like how the role players are playing.
Yeah.
So, and I love the backcourt. I mean, maybe there's a scenario where Derek White and Drew Holiday have the series of their fucking lives and make the Jays' job easy.
Yeah.
But I just I can't really fathom considering how good Luka and Kyrie are. And I also can't fathom because the Jays are just disengaged too often for me.
Yeah.
Like he's just out there. Like Kyrie's running around, but he's not just out there. If Luka's scoring a lot, Kyrie might not be involved. In any other context, Kyrie's involved.
Yeah.
Like Jaylen Brown will hit 2 straight great threes and like not take a 3 after that.
Yeah.
And or he'll do the opposite. He'll get 5 layups, miss 5 threes, and in the fourth quarter look to take 3s. Like it's those unexpected, frustrating things I just don't get with Kyrie and Luka.
Yeah. The other thing, Kyrie and Luka will get involved by like playmaking. Exactly. Jason Tatum and Brown, they're getting involved as they have to take shots. Sometimes Kyrie is like, all right, I need the ball and I need to go get somebody else a bucket. And, he'll make a move and get the lob. Or Luka will know I need to go and hit somebody in the corner, and they do it. Brown and Tatum is like, hey, we haven't scored in a while. Okay, I'm about to take a tough shot.
Take a shot.
Yeah. Who's the better coach in the series?
Jason Kidd.
Okay.
That's why all the small stuff you were talking about, like Jason Kidd, that's why to me, like all the small team identity things, Dallas to me, I think is going to dominate.
Yeah, I got Kidd in that too. If for both teams, if one player, like if either team wins, who wins Finals MVP? If Dallas wins, who wins Finals MVP?
Luka for sure.
If Boston wins, who wins Finals MVP?
So I've been talking like I'm pretty confident that Dallas is going to win. But there's a player we haven't mentioned who is on pace to return.
Please do not say Porzingis would win Finals MVP. There's no way. There's no way.
To me, the only way I have confidence is if Porzingis is healthy.
But you think he'll win Finals MVP?
It's hard to pick that, but yeah.
Really?
I think if Boston wins this series, it's through Porzingis.
I would agree with that.
That's the versatility. If you're matching Dallas's unstoppable scoring, Porzingis is the only fucking blueprint Boston has for that.
He's the only unstoppable scorer they have.
And he's
in my opinion.
But that's the thing. Like Boston has maximized his ability, similar to PJ Washington, that Porzingis is not just spacing the floor. He's a constant mismatch. He's a fucking size mismatch. He's a capable playmaker. He's a good decision maker.
The thing is, if Porzingis doesn't like play game 1, if he misses 2 games and he comes back game 3,
it's not. Yeah. I'm hoping. Let's say hypothetically he's not that healthy and doesn't play a lot. It's gotta be, and this is essentially to me an impossibility. Jason Tatum.
I'm actually gonna say Derek White for Boston. I think it'll be a Iguodala Finals MVP.
If Derek White, well, yeah, he's good enough to do that. But if Boston wins this series without the Jays, like really making a massive impact, it's really going to bother me.
Yeah, well, they have to make a massive impact.
The NBA is in shambles at that point.
Because the highest paid player in the league is like not leading his team to the championship?
No, because Boston's not going anywhere, and I'm sick of them.
Well, now I feel
Boston's
like they're
going to enter dynasty territory if they can win without depending on the Jays. Like, that means they haven't – all the stuff we've been asking them to, like, figure out, they haven't actually needed to figure out. They just needed to wait for Derek White to get that good.
If they do that, there's no chance they come out the East next year when everyone's healthy.
Okay, interesting.
I'll say that. They have a chance if Tatum and Brown put together good games this series. I could say they're likely to come out the East again. But if they don't, if they don't do what they have to do, come on, man. Like Jimmy Butler's coming back, Randall's coming back. Go down the line. Back. Cavs might be back and might be better. Yeah, you never know. Milwaukee, Dame and Giannis are going to be back and healthy. No way. So that's only if those guys still can put it together. But to your point, I don't know.
And
I don't know about that.
There's a couple of X factors for Boston, like Porzingis coming back, because they've been kind of saving him.
Yeah.
So if he could come back and like the last couple games, he could play, full minutes.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that puts Boston in good shape.
It does. I wonder what Porzingis. I wonder how Porzingis will defend Gafford and Lively.
Yeah.
Like foul
the
trouble
other thing
wise.
for me, like Tatum, there's a level of pressure on Tatum that isn't on anyone else.
Yeah, there is.
Like if Tatum struggles in this series, and this isn't like a series that he should struggle.
Mm-hmm.
There's really, Dallas has some guys, but he should be good enough to figure that out.
Yeah.
Like it's going to be the main, it's been kind of like under the radar thing of how not consistent he is in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And at this point, it's going to be like a mainstream part of his identity.
I agree. If it's not good this finals, it is going to be a big deal. And same thing with Brown. If Brown leads this finals in turnovers, I don't know. I don't hear enough people talking about it because they still win. So I guess people don't think it's a big deal.
They won't win this series with that.
Exactly. They won't. No way. And people just don't comprehend how disgusting the Golden State year. What was that? 2022? 1?
I want to say 2 years ago.
People they don't talk about it enough how disgusting that run was turnover wise for Jaylen Brown.
And it was high highs, disgusting lows.
And they still made it to the finals. So people think, oh, it's cool. They made it to the finals. No,
but they squeezed out 2 series that they, in a lot of ways got lucky in.
Yeah. And who knows? They could have been a lot more rested in the finals if he didn't blow a couple games with his turnovers. So
and that's the thing, like in the years that have followed, the luck hasn't been in their favor,
right,
and they haven't really learned anything from that.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, the front office has, because they got the right additions. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, and last thing I'll say about Dallas and Boston: if Boston loses the first 3 quarters of these games, they're not winning the fourth quarter. They're not beating Kyrie in the fourth quarter every game. And they're not beating Jason Kidd in the fourth quarter every game. So, I mean,
this is
going to play better than they did last series.
I really don't see a lot of ways for Boston to win this series.
Okay, let's do it. How many games?
6.
Dallas and 6?
Wait a minute.
This will be my first time. Huh?
Wait a minute. Game 6 is in Dallas, right?
Boston has home court.
Right? They definitely have home court.
1-1.
Oh, wait. No. Is it the weird count? Is it still that weird count?
2-2, 1-1, right?
Is it back to normal?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
I think they put it back to
then
normal.
It should be game 6 in Dallas. I don't know. Luka's enjoyed sending teams home in their building. So there might be an element of that if Dallas comes out hot these first couple games.
Does Kyrie bring sage to Boston? Does he burn sage?
I was just laughing about that, my friend. I was literally like, yo, I love when Kyrie just plays basketball, but when he starts burning fucking sage before the damn games, I'm good on that.
Did he win that game? I'm about to look that up.
I don't know. I have no idea.
I'm about to look it up. Did Kyrie... Kyrie explains why he burned sage around TD Garden Court prior to Nets preseason game. Oh, it was a preseason game anyway.
Oh, dude, extra embarrassing.
Oh, they won. They won by 30-20. So, you better hope Kyrie don't bring sage to Boston this time.
Yeah, but to me, this is the Luka series. Like, Kyrie, they can kind of withstand Kyrie's impact.
Yeah.
It's the relentless, like, Minnesota was just overwhelmed by how much they didn't have an answer for Luka.
Yeah.
And I think Boston, again, these are regular season comparisons, but the matchups, they don't change that much.
Right.
And Luka has abused this Boston team for years.
Yeah, he has. I'm going to say this is the first time I'm picking 7 games this whole playoffs, I think. I normally don't pick 7 games because I really don't think
Boston. There's no way.
That easy. No, I'm picking Dallas in 7.
Okay.
Picking Dallas in 7. I picked Dallas to win it all preseason.
Yeah.
Listeners, you can go back and listen. I picked them to win it all preseason. I'm gonna stick with it. Dallas in 7. I think it'll go 7.
I didn't see 6. Dallas being this good this quick.
Yeah.
But their spacing was flawless, like the first month of the season, even before the deadline pickups.
Yeah, it was. It absolutely was.
And Kyrie and Luka were clicking really early. Like, there was a lot of signs that Dallas was making a run this year.
And, the funny thing is, PJ Washington is doing just what they wanted Grant Williams to do.
Mm-hmm.
Grant Williams just didn't do it. He just, had a rough time there. I don't know, whatever the reason was, his confidence or conditioning, I don't know. But he's just doing what they thought Grant would do, and I thought Grant would do as well. So, given the trades, not saying it's a 1-for-1, but as far as role, he's just playing the same role. He's just doing it better. So,
and
I thought Grant would do it, but
I love players who could be playmakers when asked.
Mm-hmm.
Like you saw, and I hate to kind of trash him, I guess, but because he shot it great. And he was a big reason Minnesota competed.
Mm-hmm.
But like Naz Reid just shot the ball in this series.
Yeah.
Did nothing else. And there was a lot of moments when like Dallas is respecting him because he's really good at scoring.
He is. He's a scoring machine.
But he didn't use any of that gravity. And PJ Washington is literally, he's not even shooting well. And he's using the gravity of his ability to shoot, to attack, to post up, to cut, to rebound.
Yep.
Is that, like, to me, I wish more NBA players had that kind of development.
Yeah.
Because obviously we didn't see any of this shit in Charlotte with PJ Washington.
Yeah.
And now he's, he won't win finals MVP, but he could be in top 3 impact for Dallas easily.
For sure. Yeah. He just won't score enough for finals MVP.
Right.
But he definitely could be, yeah.
It would be, I can't picture him staying hot for the whole series.
And one reason why I picked, I'm saying Derek White for Boston, not because I think he'll lead them in scoring, but I think he'll be the most consistent. He does have that gear, and he has the gear to do it every game. Mm-hmm. Like, I could see Brown having 40 one game, Tatum having 40 the next game, Brown having like 18. Them going back and forth, but Derek White having a solid 24 every single game.
Yeah.
And, 24, 3 steals, 6 assists.
These shots, getting these stops, like all the momentum plays. White has really taken kind of Smart's job in that of just leading the impact plays kind of leadership.
Yeah, I think fantasy points, I think Derek White will lead them in fantasy points. He'll have the points, the rebounds, the assists, the steals. He'll have all the stats together. He already leads them in blocks. So, like, he's going to have everything there every single game, even though I think Brown and Tatum will probably lead the teams in scoring. One of them will, but I think he'll probably be more consistent. That's all. I think they'll be like, oh, Tatum won. If Tatum wins, they'll be like, Tatum won, but like game 2, he was disgustingly bad. Game 3, he was disgustingly bad. I don't think White's going to have any of those bad games.
I will say, I think it's more important for Boston to win this first game.
Mm-hmm.
Not just because of the home court, but like I do want to be wrong in the fact that Boston can't establish their identity in this series. Like there are some ways they should be able to.
Yeah.
And I think you take this first game and now Dallas has to adjust to you.
Mm-hmm.
So like that to me already puts you on track to kind of control the series.
Yeah.
And Dallas to me doesn't really care either way.
Mm-hmm.
But Boston, I think, needs it a little bit more.
I agree. Yeah, I think so. Okay. Anything else around this finals?
Does Luka become the best player in the league if he wins it?
No. I'm sick of the finals meaning you're the best player in the league.
Does Jason Tatum enter the best player conversation if he wins it?
No.
Obviously, assuming they get MVP.
Neither one of them get the best player in the league moniker for this. I don't think so. What do you think?
Unfortunately for the casuals, I think Tatum will make a good case because he's kind of been hanging around and. But to me, this is a make or break at finals for him. Like, even if they lose, if he plays the right way, like I'll take that.
Sorry for my dog snoring, by the way.
Oh, you're good. It was only for a few minutes.
Yeah. I think for the casuals, Luka will probably be best player in the league only because Boston's team is better. I think everyone thinks Boston's team is better, which, on paper they probably are. So I think that Luka will probably look like he's carrying more. Even though Luka can get 60 and not be carrying the team, he's just a really good scorer. He's not. I don't really see him as a carrying guy. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I think that casuals would think he's carrying because he'll probably really drastically have more points than everybody else.
He carries the spacing, but it's the other guys have gotten so much better at capitalizing off of it.
Yeah.
That the credit is more to them, the team kind of fitting around each other more so than just Luka being unstoppable.
Yeah, I think contrary to Minnesota, the others make it harder to guard Luka than the others making it harder to guard Ant. It made it easier to guard Ant because the others weren't doing that much. But you just can't leave Lively. You can't leave PJ. You can't leave some of those guys. Can't leave Kyrie. So
OKC has a bit of this problem too, where the other guys get stagnant or the team gets stagnant. It becomes a lot easier to guard Shea and J-Dub.
Right. So Minnesota and OKC are similar in that way. And I think Dallas is the opposite. Those guys play so well, it makes it almost impossible to stay with Luka the whole night. Because when they're not playing good, Luka just looks okay. He doesn't look that great. But when they're playing great, Luka looks ridiculous. So
I'm curious how much trash they're going to talk to him too. Because that has backfired. Yeah, that has backfired for everybody that's tried.
I mean, only really Jaylen Brown talks trash, right?
For Boston, yeah, for the most part. But Boston does when things get chippy, Boston will get a little petty.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, they do. Drew, I feel like Drew Holiday does some sneaky trash talk.
Maybe I think he does. Maybe, but he seems so quiet.
He does seem quiet, and he's he's a fantastic guy off the court. Yeah. But
I love Derek White. It's hard to believe. Derek White's such a good teammate. He's always in this "I'm not playing well enough" mode.
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
I love that. Dude. I love guys that will make 6 and then miss the 7th shot and get so pissed. I should have made 7.
Yeah, that's him.
Yeah,
that's him. Yep. All right. We'll leave it at that, and we'll cover more stuff next time. But we'll probably just be doing games. But we did a full hour.
We'll see. We were gonna come back halfway through the series for the conference finals, but game 3, I was hoping one of the game 3s would go to the team that was down 2-0, but that didn't happen.
Yeah. Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. I was like, what are we going to say?
There's not much to deep dive when the same team wins 3 straight,
Yeah. Once it was 3-0, I mean, it's history says it was over, so it was really nothing to say. If this series
is tied at any point after, obviously, 0-0, we will come back and talk about it a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Absolutely. No, we'll come – we can come 2 games even if it's 2-0 because –
okay.
Yeah, because you never know. You never know. With either of these teams, you never know.
This is a situation where if it gets 2-0 for anybody, that will not be the end of the series.
No, it won't, because both these teams can win
very easily
3 games in a row. Yep. All right. Thank you for listening. As always, please subscribe on YouTube, subscribe on Spotify, all those good things. Thanks for being here, and we will see you guys next time.